guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have our first episode of Tryhard Tuesday. Tryhard Tuesday is basically going to be my outlet for competitive magic, where, you know, winning, doing my absolute best is going to be the main focus. It's not going to be too much different from the content you're used to, except I'm only going to feature decks that I actually have a huge, amount of experience with. So I'm also going to launch another series called Freestyle Friday, where I'm basically more loose about picking up a deck without practice, trying to learn an existing deck, brewing a little bit and stuff like that. So I hope you'll enjoy both of those series. Today we have Temur Delver, pretty standard list here. I'll try and highlight what makes my version different. I like the 19th land. The Surveil land is a cool addition. There's only one tropical. You have to keep that in mind when fetching in the mid game. What else? A couple of unholy heats here of my catch-all removal. I like that card. You need to kill opposing trolls, and other, bigger creatures like Nadu. Single copy of Brazen, pretty standard, ups the blue count, ups the threat count. It's serviceable. Then I have a single copy of Force Negation. The main point of that is basically that I want to in my 75, and it's kind of my only card in the sideboard that you can realistically play in the main deck. So, this is kind of like a 16 sideboard card deck. Sideboard-wise, I'm trying to deal with colorless. I'm trying to deal with red. That includes the Mirror and Mono-Red Prison. Even good against Sneak Attack. Even good against Rite of Flame, Burning Wish type Storm decks. Negation against all Combo and Chalice. Price against Eldrazi and Greedy Control decks. Abrade is basically a card against any small creatures, but it's mainly Chalice of the Void removal. Aeroblast is awesome these days. Good in the Mirror. Good against Nadu. Good against Planeswalkers, good against Illusionist, Out of Breakfast, good against Show and Tell, just an awesome card. And then we have 3 copies of Grafdigger's Cage against Reanimator, Oops, and even crossover against Nadu. So without further ado, let's jump into some Legacy matches and see how this, S-tier deck can perform against random decks, because keep in mind, leagues will be a bit more diverse than the average challenge, but yeah, speaking of challenge, let's take on the challenge of exactly that. All right, round 1, I'm playing Izzet Delver, splashing a little bit of green, so I guess technically that means it's Temur. I'm on the draw here with a 4-land hand, which is not ideal, but I think mainly because of the card Brainstorm, which can kind of salvage your land spell ratio. It's a keep. My opponent's on a single mulligan, basic island pass, and they went out of their way to play this island. This is not just something that magically appears in your account, so that's something to think about. I think I like that Force Will draw. Huh. I think I like that Force Will draw quite a bit. So something to think about when you have cantrips in your deck is, what are you looking for? And I think here it's quite obvious that I'm looking for a threat, and I will keep probably any ponder that's 2 spells in a land. So let's draw the Bolt in case we get, I don't know, Thought Seized or whatever. Because I'm drawing the Chandler next turn anyway, and I'm going to fetch away the card underneath that, so pretty solid. I will say it's very unlikely that this Lightning Bolt is good in this game, which is a bit bad. Let's develop the Chandler, getting ready to Surveil. In a perfect world, my opponent casts Show and Tell and I get to daze it. That's kind of my mindset here after the Tarn hit the field. When fetching end of turn, maybe they go for a Thundering Falls of their own. Okay, so Jeskai colors. So we're probably playing against a controlling deck. All of Heliod's Generosity, so Standstill. Shark Typhoon, I guess. Okay, that's a problem, because they will have infinite removal. They will have a good mana base. So let's go Thundering Falls, Delver. I think I like that. Also, I have to think about Supreme Verdict. Supreme Verdict is a very, very annoying card right now. I guess let's keep the Delver, draw the Delver. And then cast Brainstorm. Let's try and get to Delirium here. Get rid of a land. Resolve Brainstorm most likely. The first Wasteland is decent, but I will say that it will kind of mess up my shuffle. But maybe that's acceptable. So I go Volcanic Island. This card will flip the Delver. Oh, so I'm not going to get to Delirium here, I believe. Sorcery instant. Yeah. Also, what if my opponent cycles a Shark Typhoon? So I guess I'd learn about that by wastelanding first. Yeah, that's kind of the solution. Okay, so I do put Bolt back on top. And now wasteland my opponent to not get blown out in combat. Yeah, this is exactly how we need to play. So this matchup is probably going to be horrendous for me, but that's the small stuff that you need to build good habits about. Let's say I sleep a little bit at the wheel here, attack, and I trade a token here. That would be atrocious. So now I can play Delver. I can pass the turn. I'm not going to get Supreme Verdicted. My opponent needs to develop basic or fetch in order to get into Supreme Verdict. Otherwise, I have the Wasteland at the ready. I have Lightning Bolt on top of the deck, which will flip the Delver. That Lightning Bolt will also clear the land underneath. So I put on decent pressure here. Will get blown out by Supreme Verdict, but that's not a problem we can worry too much about here. I'm very happy with my play so far. Delver Secrets, flipping Lightning Bolt will clear the way. But so will the fetch land. If I fetch first, I'm more likely to hit Delirium. More likely to hit Delirium. If I fetch Tropical, bolt that one to try and get in for damage. Is that how you play? Probably. So this is a spot where if I fetch the Trop out in this mid-game situation, it's decent because I actively want my opponent to use their time wastelanding. So let's see here. Bolting the Shark seems not very strong. I think it's how I play. I could theoretically get blown out. Yeah, I don't want that daze. I could get blown out by another Shark, which is annoying, but I think I'm going to accept that. Accept that blowout potential. Yeah, it looks like that's what's going to happen. That's very annoying. I think around the second Shark is tough here. I didn't nail that decision. So now I'm in a position where I should probably develop second Delver and fight over the Delvers. Like, that's the I get plowed or whatever. I don't think I'm in a position to beat Supreme Verdict here. Here's a plow. I'm actually going to counter it. Because now I want to make sure that I actually have a game plan. I'm in a very, very bad position here, so I need to do the best I can here. Brainstorm, very, very good draw for obvious reasons. So let's get in there for 6. I feel like I should brainstorm now. My opponent does not have Supreme Verdict, and they would have just cleared my board, so... I wonder what's best, Wasteland or normal land? So let's see. If I put back normal land, Wasteland, play Chandler, play Ponder, bin the Wasteland. Yeah, that's probably better. Let's do that. Chandler, Ponder, bin the Wasteland. These cards are quite nice, so I can even upkeep the Druid if I want to. So I go... Oh, Let's think. The thing is, if I don't get verdicted now, I just win the game. So this plays setting up that I actually get verdicted. So I think this is how to play, but who knows? My opponent is gonna... I don't know if they have second surveil or simply just thinning here. I would imagine they're on Supreme Verdict or Bust. A card that they certainly did not have last turn. We could tell by the fact that they cast Swords to Plowshares. So, I got the job done here, which is obviously awesome. But I think I was kind of playing with fire here. Not anything I could do about that, though. That's just how the game, or how the deck works. That my opponent's deck is happy to play against, you know, wastelands and creatures in general. But I got lucky here. So Pyroblast and Force Negations are awesome. And yeah, I think my bolts are not awesome. I mean, they do kill a shark. Oh, wow. I accidentally cut one of these guys. They do kill a shark. So is there an argument that I can go like -2 wastelands plus 2 bolts? I actually think I like that a lot. Then I'm at 17 lands, sure, but Wasteland is not reliable as a Stone Rains, and it doesn't cast that many spells out of my deck. I actually like this. Okay, well, playing against the deck like that, Standstill is not exactly what I'm expecting when I'm building my deck, but it's a cool challenge to kind of see how does my deck line up against random decks. And basic lane control, as I call it, is always a tough one for Delver. It's mainly the combo decks that keep decks like that in check. Okay, so now I have the Thundering Falls one-lander. But I actually think it's going to be fine. I'm going to keep this hand. Have some threats to pass the turn. Pass the time, rather, not the turn. So now I'm actually weak to turn 2 Standstill. Dragon Day Dragon. Yeah, my opponent might play that card as well. I can't remember the name. Timeless Dragon, that's the one. Yeah, let's see what the opponent left on top here. The fairy is annoying. Very good to know about. Do I like this wasteland? I actually think I don't. Also, my opponent showed the return an enchantment card. Yeah, I love to see this. I also love the flavor text of this card. Take your time. That's awesome. But I wanted to say the opponent played the Heliod's whatever. And that is oh, nice draw. That's kind of a sign that Wasteland is live against the deck, so maybe I misevaluated in sideboarding. Let's just see what we see this game, I guess. So how do we play against this Standstill? I feel like the way to play against the Standstill is something to do with End Step Druid, maybe? End Step Druid, because the thing is, I don't have more land drops. I could also just go double Delver now and accept that I gave my opponent an Ancestral Recall. How does that sound? Let me think a little bit about that. Because what's going to happen? Opponent draws, opponent plays the land. That's 5 cards. I then end step Druid. Then the opponent most likely has to discard 1 card. Maybe that's better. I give up on my, potential tempo avenue. But the question is if I even believe that to begin with. I'm going to try and pass here and go for the end step, Seek the Beast. Very close call, though. Here's a land. And since I don't have a land, I can't play this, can't play this game. Feel like I should go for a second Volcanic here. Let's Seek the Beast on the turn. Standstill gets cracked. I hit 2 lands, which is obviously not good. When it has to discard a single card, most likely going to be a land. So Standstill was draw 3, discard a land. That's upgraded thirst for discovery or whatever it's called. Then on my turn, I can play... Oh, wow. Opalescence. That makes enchantments into creatures. Huh. Daze. Is Daze a good card? Who knows? Let's play a land from out here. Should I play... Maybe I just play 2 Delvers. Maybe I just play 2 Delvers. Then I get, you know, I trade for some removal, but we kind of keep playing the game, I guess. What about if I go Druid and Delver? Druid and Delver. Maybe that's good. Okay, let's try that. Fetch Tropical. Play Ruido. Play Delver. Yeah, this is going to be a long one, so I'm trying to exhaust as many resources as possible. The thing is, my opponent already got card advantage from the standstill. If they also get card advantage from the verdict, it's just going to be rough. That's just how it goes. Opponent is fetching. Let's see if they're doing anything here in the turn. They're cycling a shark, which is not that bad for me, to be honest. That's fine. So they use their mana to cycle to get a 1/1. Totally reasonable. I think if my opponent passes the turn here, like without killing any of my creatures, I'm going to use a Brainstorm to ensure the flip of the Delver. At this point, I'm also pretty happy that I have spells in my deck aside from Wasteland. But then, I mean, if my opponent gets some lock going with the Heliod land, then I wish I had Wasteland. So who knows? I have variant stuff here. The main phase Brainstorm is probably pretty good for me. The dream is my opponent jams Teferi into a Daze, but it's not looking good for the Daze squad. Opponent with a ton of cards in hand here. Here comes the land. Play the 3-drop. I don't have the Daze opponent. You should play the Teferi. So realistically, if they go for that, they also have Force of Will, in which case I just have a good exchange. So let's Daze back the Tropical, grow the Questing Druid. That's a card that the opponent really doesn't want to bounce. Ooh, I get to Daze here turn 4. That's amazing for me. And now I'm definitely turning up the heat with the upkeep Brainstorm. Ooh, a little bit of MTGO lag here. I actually thought that went away. Hopefully it's going to be bearable. So Opalescence. I'm trying to think about, isn't that some kind of leyline card? It kind of goes hard. So let's respond here. The reason I'm tapping the Volcanic is if I get to Daze, then I would like to return a non-tap land. So I don't need the Wasteland. And I guess I just flip with a Ponder. That's probably fine, right? So flip with the Ponder. Now I have to think about Supreme Verdict again. My opponent fetched 3rd island here to play the Teferi, so it's not really smelling like Verdict. I will say that. I think my play here is to cast Ponder, hold up Pyroblast. Yeah, these cards are not good. Let's shuffle those. Try and attack for 8. I expect my opponent to block the Druid. And then if they don't cast Supreme Verdict on the next turn, that's kind of my go sign that they don't have it. And then I can kind of be a bit more aggressive with the threats I have in hand. I will say it's a bit scary. I don't have non-blue threats covered here. The good thing is it's probably on my opponent to deal with what I have going on. Here's a Brainstorm. I'm actually going to try and cut off my opponent here. because I feel like the stuff that they can draw into is the stuff that I can actually lose to, right? I don't think you're brainstorming here if you have what you need already. So I'm kind of sensing a little bit of weakness here. Also sensing that if this game kind of goes on and I allow my opponent to deal with my board, this is not a game I'm winning. So it could be a good bait from the opponent, but chances are that they need it to improve their hand. Yeah, Questing Druid here, nothing insane, of course, with it just hit one card, right? So it's not like it's an insane card or anything. Oh, here's second Teferi, so my opponent played well here. But it's mainly just to say that this card is sometimes card advantage, and then it's a big creature. Like in this scenario, my opponent has to bounce back a value card, so not ideal. Let's see what we can draw. We draw another land, not exciting, obviously. Feel like things will get easier if I simply just spend my attack step attacking the Teferi. No plows in my opponent's draw so far. Maybe I should go Murktide Regent, holding up the Questing Druid for end stepping Seek the Beast. So like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm actually gonna go full on this Murktide. My opponent hasn't shown any signs of, you know, having Swords to Plowshares. It's even possible I should have played a Delver there. Would that have been lethal? No, that's one off lethal if they fetch. Yeah, I don't know. Also worth noting, my opponent did not fetch there, not going for the Surveil. Maybe that means the opponent has Pyroblast in their deck. Oh, now we kind of have the same situation. I have the same, kind of have the same logic here. Let's see. Let's see if it works. I'm trying to cut my opponent off so I can tempo out the game. If the opponent has a third Teferi here, it's very well played because they just saw that. Oh, okay. Because they just saw that I was willing to fight. This I'm going to allow because I would rather, let's say my opponent finds an impactful spell like a Plow or Teferi, then I brainstorm in response to try and find the answer. I don't want to fight over the brainstorm with pitch spells, but fighting with Pyroblast is just fine. So now chances are the opponent can deal with at least Murktide, and that kind of tips the scale in their favor. Here's the fetch, down to 14. Exposing their land a little bit, I guess. But I mean, they have 5 lands, so it's not the end of the world. Is this Supreme Verdict? Yeah, this is the Supreme that I was talking about for a while, so that happened. Yeah, let's see how we can bounce back here. I have a lot of creatures here, wow. So let's play Chandler. Let's play Delver. Should I play my land out? I'm trying to think about future brainstorm value. Yeah, let's play the land out, mainly because I might have to, you know, Desperado brainstorm and Seek the Beast on my opponent's end step, or, you know, on their turn in general. So let's see if they can handle my second wave of creatures here. If they can, I'm probably in trouble. The thing is, we're kind of entering the Hardcast Shark Typhoon territory. Also, I will have more Wastelands for the next game if I lose this one, because showing double Tundra is very bad for me. Opalescence. So I guess this is where I go first Brainstorm, then Questing Druid. Yeah, let's do that. So yeah. Don't want that card for, I mean, of course blue card would be ideal here. Okay, Wasteland is not bad, but I can't get to it. Let's think about this. My opponent will resolve Opalescence. Probably not have much here aside from that. They're looking to activate the Hall in order to put back Shark Typhoon. So if I Wasteland the Hall, they will have 6 mana. That's still enough to Shark. The Shark will be a 6/6 in itself and help my opponent down the line. So what can we do here? 2 Pyroblast gone. So I think what I have to do now is put back... Put back land, put back Brainstorm, flip the Delver. Let's try that. Opalescence resolves. Flip Delver. Draw the Brainstorm. So now, guess I just attack first to see what's going on. Maybe I just kill the Hall. Maybe that's just good practice to do that first. So right now, the card Daze is good. Okay, Shark Typhoon is back on the opponent's deck, I believe. Yeah, Shark Typhoon is back on the deck. I have a card I don't like on top. But that's fine, because I'm clearing it with Chandler, giving myself a chance here to spike something good. Bad thing is it's going to be known information. Good thing is I can develop the Druid straight away, so I think it's worth it. Okay. Wait a minute. So now if I hit counters, I can't use them right now. Oh. Pyroblast is awesome. Daze is awesome. Force of Will is awesome. So maybe I do this on my... No, I kind of have to put up lethal here, I feel like. Okay. Let's try and seek the beast here. Get rid of that land. 2 cards, including negation. Not ideal, but I kind of brought that upon myself. The reason I do this is basically I try and set up a situation where I can actually beat the shark, which may or may not be realistic. So let's try and pass here. If my opponent does not have a spare land, I will dig for the Daze in response. Looking 4 cards deep. Okay, they have that. Huh. Okay. So my opponent is not looking to jam the Typhoon. Let's see. Oh, because it's a not a flyer. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So now I'm putting myself in a position where Lightning Bolt is most likely lethal. Delver. Delver of Secrets. So yes, I play this Brainstorm out to see what's going on top of my deck. That was an amazing card because that kills the blue shark. So now, my opponent needs a lot of stuff here. I feel like if I go Delver, Volcanic Island, play Chandler to grow the Druid, the Power Blast will clear the lane on top of my deck. I kill that. My opponent needs a very, very good card as the last card in their hand. They could have something here to kind of stem the bleeding. I'm looking to close out this game before things get overly complicated. Opponent fetches to 7. Is this because they're looking to make the biggest shark possible, or because they have something else. Third Tundra informs my game 3, I guess. Let's see. So they're right now giving themselves the chance to cycle into a plow. I like that a lot. Or Blue Blast, actually. Well played by the opponent. So the way this works is, I think the opponent's going to get the shark first, and then I can kind of kill it before they draw the card, which is what you want to do because you don't want your opponent to draw into that blast. Let's get rid of also the Delver, I feel like. I feel like I'm looking for a Lightning Bolt if this does not work. If this does not win the game, I'm looking for Lightning Bolt. And now the opponent needs to have drawn exactly Plow to survive at 1, which is why it was a good idea to dig for the Bolt. That was a sick match. That was a sick match because this is not the ideal matchup for this deck, but we got to do a lot of planning, when to respect Verdict, when to say we simply cannot beat Verdict, a little bit of judgment calls on the... I Pyroblasted 2 Brainstorms this game, which is, you know, not something you do every day. So, whew, what a great start. Let's keep it up. All right, round 2, I'm playing Temur Delver. I lost a die roll here, which is something you cannot do too often. When you play with Days, you need your free wins. When you're on the draw, it's hard mode. This hand has an obvious good land spell ratio. Can fix with Brainstorm, get info with Bauble, bolt a creature. So yeah, we hope Lightning Bolt is alive against this opponent. Blue to Delta. Fetch. Not a Delver Mirror. Let's get Thoughtseized, I guess. Yep, we got Thoughtseized here. So whether this is Reanimator or the blue-black Pseudo Mirror, who knows? I guess what the opponent takes here will teach us, well, I guess not. Wasteland. I actually like going for that Wasteland. Maybe we can qualify it a tiny bit here by seeing if my opponent's top card is a land. Top card is a Traxa, huh? So yeah, let's Wasteland here and try and get lucky. I think that's relatively low investment. So we're up against Reanimator. I actually love playing against that deck because it's like we can lose. Yeah, I don't love drawing bolts against that deck. We can lose at all times. Ooh, the opponent was on a 1-lander. I actually like how the opponent played here. I usually play the same way where, sure, I could go for a swamp, but, you know, what's the point? I will also say that it's possible my opponent just already has a land and reanimate. I'm going to keep that Force of Will. That they're trying to get to natural discard, but I don't think that's the case. But I'm just saying it's a possibility. You can't really rule that out. My opponent knows about everything except Bolt and Flooded Strand in my hand. So my opponent knows about Daze, Misty, and Bolt. So now they're going to discard the Atraxa, which is annoying. So I need to draw like a creature. Blue card would be good. Love that draw. Play the land my opponent knows about. I wouldn't be surprised at all if an opponent goes land reanimate with force backup. Like that's the most likely here. They don't have the land. Okay, so that is very good for me. But with that being said, also need to find something to do to kind of capitalize on this, right? Discarding Fanatic. Ponder is a good way to start if you're looking to capitalize on things. There's a lot of good cards here. Questing Druid is probably going to be amazing. I will have to fetch, kind of get punished for... So I guess what I do is like this. Draw that card. Play Chandler. Yes, play out that land as well. Feeling decent here with double counter. Chandler is a fast clock. My opponent knows about the days. So now I kind of have to ask myself, do I believe that Dazing this card is profitable. Let's see. I get in for 3. That's 14. 11. 8. If I'm putting Reanimates, they cannot force a will. That means Daze is live against Animate Dead. That's actually going to be my tiebreaker here. The math here on how that works. Next turn, I'm going to draw the Druid. I can clear the top and look even further with that card. That's kind of cool. So, untap. Draw the Druid. Get in for 3. So if I wanted to, I could now deploy the Druid. Next card down was a land, I believe. So the land might even be good here if I go Seek the Beast, play the land, deploy the Druid, then I can play around opposing Daze. Okay. It's a bit unconventional, but I think it works. So Seek the Beast, hit the land, and be happy about it. So that I play around opponent's Daze. Yeah, this is solid. Not amazing, obviously. So I guess I just play Volcanic. Fetch the Trop. Play that card. Mainly to try and close out this game. Make a stop on my next upkeep, because I might need Lightning Bolt to kind of filter my draw. I'm showing my opponent I'm willing to put on the pressure here and make them go for it. I don't have, let's see, like forced double Daze covered, which is, you know, a likely thing my opponent could have. I don't care about the Brainstorm here. That's not what I'm scared of. My opponent knows about Daze. They know about the first Daze and the first Bolt. What happens if I bolt my opponent on end step here? Let's see. What happens if I bolt my opponent on end step? Then I grow the Druid. Okay, it looks like my opponent is initiating the fight here. It also looks like I can actually win even if my opponent ends up succeeding with the Atraxa. If it's Fatal Push, I fight. Sure. Maybe this is a way for my opponent to try and bait out Daze from my hand. Something that, if you're, you know, super desperate, it's good to give yourself that chance. I don't think I want to give my opponent's Daze mileage here if I can help it. So let's see. Yes, I cast Upkeep Lightning Bolt. Let's grow. Okay. The opponent's seen enough here, so let's see. Go to 10, grow. Go to 7, attack for lethal. Okay. So that game was simple because my opponent missed their land drops. I will say that. So playing against Reanimator is always a little bit nerve-wracking, mainly because I don't know their plan B. Barrowgoyfs, Bowmasters, Temur, who knows? So I'm not big on the Wastelands here. The negation, not big on that either. So I could keep like a Bolt in the deck. Bolt is solid if my opponent's on Bowmaster. My sideboard plan is not perfect against this deck at all. I'm leaning a lot on the 3 cages and having, like, you know, a good land spell ratio. I did see Fanatic. Fanatic is annoying. My Heats will have to cover a lot of ground. You have to think about the negations, but they just make me so weak to their plan B. Okay, I'm going to try this setup. Also, the Pyroblast are not what they used to be when they were Terminate for Frog and winning Counter Wars. They were amazing against the deck, but not these days. All right, no hate cards here, but we can kind of play the game with cantrips, etc. This is a hand you kind of have to keep against the deck, but it's also part of why Reanimator is good, because when they just have the 1-2 punch, they win these games quite easily. Milling over the Brainstorm. Big sign of weakness here if I can find a Wasteland off the top. If I can't, I most likely go Chandler Bauble. Look for stuff like Daze and Force and Cage. All right, so I want to develop a threat here. You could play like super scared and try and cantrip here, but I don't think that's how you win games in the long term. So you don't want to give up too much value. Second land here is probably good enough to keep playing the game. Also, keeping a card on top with Channeler is something the opponent has to think about. Opponent has a Fatal Push on top of the deck, which is annoying. But at the end of the day, it's just a 1-for-1 removal spell. Draw my second land. Also, it's a bit annoying that the Reanimator trend is to play a lot of Brazen Borrowers. Ooh, very nice from the opponent here. Bowman is amazing against my draw. And my opponent has the Fatal Push already. So I think I'm supposed to flip my Delver here. I don't love it. These cards can't flip a Delver. So what I could do is draw into another Delver, play it, off fetch, get wasted, then I can play Murktide. Maybe that's solid. Delver or random card here? Actually, it's quite close. The random card, if that's a land, it's a disaster. If that stays Force, Cage, all of that is better. I'm gonna keep the Delver here. Close judgment call. No shuffle. Get pinged. No shuffle on the Ponder, that is. I am gonna shuffle with my Delta, and because my opponent has Wasteland in play, I'm just gonna go for second Volcanic. Don't want to expose my green source. In theory, this game could be something that goes on for 8 turns, and then I'm gonna be very sad I don't have the tropical available. All right, this is not perfect. If I don't get wasted, I can even double threat next turn. Kind of took my medicine there on the Ponder. Not ideal, you know, the Orc army being a 2/2 and all, but so my opponent has Reanimation in hand. Interesting. But if my opponent has Reanimation in hand, then they can also just Reanimate Channeler, which is annoying. So maybe this is where I block the Bowmaster. Otherwise, they're gonna Reanimate a Channeler. But maybe that's not the end of the world. If it's a 1/1. I'm gonna try and take the damage here, but very, very peculiar play by the opponent. Double Wasteland. Oof. So now the opponent can go Wasteland, Wasteland. Push my Delver. So just a small thing here. The opponent should have cast this push after me potentially flipping the Delver. Let's say it's a spell and I pass over the free information on the upkeep. So it would have revealed an Unholy Heat. Yeah, it's just a good thing to think about. So now I'll play out Delver, try and spike another land and win a low resource game with Murktide. It's not going to be easy, that's for sure. Bowmaster is very good against Temur. Because so often it's gonna... So often it's gonna, like, Flame Tongue Kabu a creature. Yeah, that attack is just... It's weird. It's very possible I should have blocked this time. Don't flip, but I draw Channeler. And I think that's what I'm gonna deploy. I can't see myself winning this game, but I mean, Channeler is definitely a way to do it. Is this a Daze? Daze is very, very good here. Also, kind of weird that if my opponent has Reanimation, why they didn't reanimate a while ago. Maybe they just have one copy of Reanimate and they want, like, insurance on their Bowmaster. Opponent taking back the sewers, but not redeploying it. Okay. They keep the cards. I'm losing slowly and steadily here. It looks like it's going to be up to game 3 to take down this match. Let's see what the Delver can do. The Delver cannot do anything. Let's attack for 1 and I guess trying to heat the Bowmaster. With the way this played out, I'm definitely going to look into if I can have one more copy of Lightning Bolt in my deck for game 3. Also, I'm trying to learn if, you know, fatal pushing, sure. Creating removal spells here, but my opponent's left with a 2/2, obviously. Terrible for me. So now I expect... Oh, my opponent hit the Fanatic here? Okay, they didn't. Keeping the card on top, kept the Ponder last turn. Not ideal. Thoughtseize. Let's say I had some card I wanted to, you know, hide here. I would concede in response, but I think it's fine here. Basically, I can win this game if my opponent has next to nothing and I draw a land. Opponent takes Ponder. That has Brazen Burrow written all over it. Or Daze, I guess. So a lot of important stuff about Thoughtseize is the opponent gets info, sure, but what does that tell me about their hand? What they did? Oh, wow, this is terrible. So... yeah, this is super bad. Let's see which card they kept. Ponder. Okay, so that's kind of part of how I can win this game, but it's getting super slim. Let's see. Attack down to 4. Next turn, attack down to 2. Yeah. Yeah, this is horrible. We will need game 3 to take it down. I'm down for that challenge. Basically, I want to know about which direction they kind of took it after sideboard here. Will I see Voidwalker? Will I see Entomb? Yeah, this will do it, because I know I'm kind of breaking next turn. All right, so I want another Lightning Bolt in here. What is it that I don't want in here? You can argue it's a copy of Daze. Oh, this is annoying. Sorry for that. You can argue it's a copy of Bauble. Brazen is good against Troll and stuff like that. Force is kind of, you know, kind of have to make that hedge, I feel like, and with the current iteration of the deck. Bolt, very annoying that I have to have that card because of Bowmaster, but I think I'll just cut a Bauble here. I don't like cutting Baubles with this deck. Oh, wow. This is probably something that I should try and fix. All right, looks like I fixed the giant lightning bolts. Let's try and do our best here for game 3. So this hand is a keep. The only question is, which land do I play turn 1? So upside of playing Volcanic is, let's say I ponder into something like Channeler and Wasteland. upside of playing Island is I'm better against opposing Wastelands, but then again, the mid-game Wasteland is also going to be quite strong, so I think I'm going to go Island here, mainly so that I can control when I expose my my red source and when I don't. So speaking of exposing, I can hide the cage here from the turn 1 Thoughtseize, which is kind of cool. This is a lot of removal. I really don't think I need those, so let's go like this. So I want to make sure that I fetch next turn to get a freshie instead of the 3rd removal spell. This is why the removal spells are bad, to be honest. Now I just have those, and they're not really accomplishing anything. So now my opponent passes with mana up, which means my cage can get forced around Force of Will. So let's see. Play land, play Grafdigger's Cage. Grafdigger's Cage is now in play. So fetch Volcanic, cast Ponder. Now I'm basically looking for threats to kind of capitalize on the situation. These cards are good. Let's again hide the Chandler in case I get Thoughtseized. I want my opponent to look at these cards, not having the option of taking the Chandler. I think that's going to be good for me. Cycling Troll here is awesome. I'm going to go for Underground Sea, which tells me that either they don't care about Wasteland or they have Swamp already. They had Swamp already, all right. And now I feel like my opponent's ready with Bowmaster, so I should probably take this slow and not get blown out. Oh, let's see. What if I go Chandler, land? Yeah, I should probably like try and bait a good days here by going Volcanic, Chandler, cast Brainstorm. Oh, they have Blast. Okay. That's super good. Hydroblast. And I have Tropical Island on top of my deck. But I also have, you know, a deck with triple Pyroblast. So I think responding here is decent, but it could backfire, that's for sure. So let's put back 2 lands. I'm actually gonna Force a Will this Hydroblast, which is not good at all. Yeah, maybe I didn't play this well, because now I'm losing to Bowmasters. It's tough, because I also want to clear the top of the deck. Yeah, I think I have to play like this and just accept that I'm losing to Bowmasters, because I kind of hit it like a dead end there, so I need to use my Chandler to pseudo-shuffle the Brainstorm. So obviously land Bowmasters blows me out of the water here. Even in this situation, I'm trying to think. So my top cards are Wasteland and Trop. Yeah, I have to clear here. It's very, very bad, but yeah, I kind of dug myself in a little hole there fighting over the Chandler. I simply wasn't comfortable playing the longer game there, but very possible that was a fumble. So now I have Delirium, which means that Heat is dealing with. Ooh, yeah, well, that is a card I have to kill. Actually, I'm gonna do it on the draw step here because I don't want my opponent to randomly get into Hydroblast mana. Yeah, let's Unholy Heat that card. Yeah, this is exactly the type of game the Reanimator deck wants to play. The Reanimator deck wants me to be like desperate, and then they just beat me with their plan B. Ponder a solid draw. Okay, ponder into some good ones. So I feel like I should play like this. Still not respecting Bowmasters. I'm trying to... Okay, Archon is a terrible draw for my opponent. That's at least good news. Still no Bowmasters, so I now have the Pyroblast available, and then I'm going to draw the Brainstorm. And here comes the Baragoyf after I Unholy Heated the Fanatic, so... Unfortunate turn of events here. Baragoyf is a card that will beat Grafdigger's Cage all day. Let's see if I can spike my second heat here. I can't, then I start getting hit by Baragoyf, so that's just gonna do it. Alright, GG's. The Reanimator deck showed what it's capable of here, and my sideboard plan of, which is basically to like draw a cage with my normal plan A and then hope it's good enough, easily got foiled by good interactive spell, and then back-to-back Haymaker. So yeah, Reanimator is alive and kicking, and so are we, thankfully. Let's grab one more match. All right, match 3 of this Temur Delver setting, and losing the die roll is not a habit I can recommend. I think if you pick up this deck, you should win more die rolls. That'll for sure help you, and then after that, you can worry about playing well. It looks like we're up against a mirror here. Yeah, playing in the Delver Mirror is going to be exciting. I'm actually pretty excited for that one. Reanimator is an awesome one to have in your arsenal, and then of course the Delver Mirror, the same. Now let's see what the opponent took a peek on. That's not a land, so... How do I play this game? Wasteland is a huge threat. But so is having an online channeler. So basically... Also, my opponent will... have Delirium shortly. So I could, allow myself to play the game by going Island Ponder. The sad thing about that is then I cannot go double red spell next turn. Then I have Fetch Volcanic Ponder, looking for the second land. I like that a lot more. Then there's the third option of simply casting a removal spell or casting a channeler myself. Right now I'm leaning towards killing my opponent's channeler and kind of hoping for the best. And I'm actually going to do it with Unholy Heat, because if my opponent puts an instant into the yard, that's going to be Force of Will or Daze anyway. And Unholy Heat does not take care of a second channeler once Delirium is attained. I will say my opponent milled over a channeler. What does that tell me? My opponent has a threat-heavy hand. They're hedging against unfair. Maybe they wanted a blue card to pair with their force. This is a tough one. I'm not sure there exists a correct answer to this one. If I cast a Ponder, I find my second land, I get to kind of play the game. Then if my opponent does not have Wasteland, then hopefully I have 2 red available. I can double spell next turn, and I'm right back into the game. At that point, Daze is a big factor. So while in a vacuum, I want to go Channeler first, then Bolt. The reality of the situation is I probably can't, because I would have to kill my opponent's Channeler. I don't want to get dazed. Maybe I simply cannot play around Daze the whole game, so... Oof, very, very tough decision. It's actually kind of cool the opponent is tanking here, so I have more time to think about this play. Murktide removal. Unholy Heat is not really Murktide removal, but maybe it's enough under the radar that my opponent will play like a 5/5 or 6/6 Murktide. I've actually talked myself into casting this Ponder off of Volcanic Island, trying to find the second land to either, you know, be able to double spell and get into the game more, or not just simply pack up my cards against a single wasteland. Yeah, I think I like that. If I was on to play this game, I would have gone Volcanic, developed a Chandler, and kind of go from there. But that's like the nature of the beast when you're on the draw. And you kind of have to rethink a lot of things in the game. I'm going to pause the video here and see when the opponent is back. Well, what do you know? The opponent's back. So let's go Volcanic. Let's go Ponder. Let's find the second land. That would be amazing. Yeah, this is going to give it up a lot. Oh, we shuffle into the land. Okay, that's not bad. That's you know, that's the same. Here's a wasteland, so we live to see another day here. Opponent can maybe Ponder or Brainstorm here to get Delirium. That would be incredibly annoying, because then the race is really on. Okay, they turn up the heat here. So my opponent's play is not amazing, but it's good to have in your arsenal for when you realize that time is the name of the game here. And also right now there's the off chance that the opponent is playing against Sneak and Show, right? With my opening, so my opponent's play is good here. It's not good in a vacuum, but it's good in the context. They keep the card on top. I'm very scared of a daze, I must say that. So I guess I'll just try and back-to-back bolt that card and see if that works. Lightning Bolt onto the Channeler. Expect my opponent to fight over this. It makes a lot of sense with the way they played with Lightning Bolt. So I'm now down to 9 without ever kind of getting into the game, being really on the back foot here. Looks like my opponent... Oh, wow. They have the second waste as well. That's insane. Very, very strong. Yeah, draws like this are like the dream. That's like the... When you hear about Legacy, it's like, yeah, then you just lose to Delver, you know, Wasteland Days. Doesn't happen that often, but... Sure happened here. All my opponent needs now is the Force of Will to really do it to me. I'm going to play around the negation that my opponent may or not be playing here by doing it on upkeep. And it worked, so... Oh, wow. Another one, okay. That's very, very strong. I don't have Delirium. Perfect draw would be Bauble, right? Then I can kill this card. This is kind of funny how I turned into a control deck after, you know, losing the die roll and stuff like that, and the opponent turns into super tempo with the double waste and stuff like that. I draw Daze, which is, you know, not a bad card. I think I should Brainstorm because I actively want to replace 2 cards in my hand. I want to find, like, Bauble land and stuff, you know. Ideally, I get 2 cards here. Oh, so negation is quite bad. Maybe that card is just an automatic. I'm shuffling anyway. I want to develop the Chandler here, I feel like. What's the second card I'm putting back? I don't feel like it's Murktide. That card is strong right now. Is it the Ponder? No, it can't be. Let's see. I need creature in my graveyard in order to get Delirium. So playing a Chandler is a good way to do that, I guess. Maybe it's the Delver. I'll try and put back the Delver here. Fetch to 7. Get attack down to 4. Yeah, this is going to be super tight. How much stuff do I have in the yard? I have enough for a 7/7 Merc. My opponent has enough for an 8/8 Merc, I would imagine. No, they actually don't, which is kind of funny. My opponent is looking for stuff to ice the game. Worth thinking about is they already binned a bolt this game. Does that mean they have a second, or does that mean that they wanted to hedge their bets a little bit at the time? Well, I guess it could be both, right? Yeah, pretty sick game. That I'm not out of it yet because I managed to find a few lands. Oof, Chandler Days Double Wasteland. That was insane. Just imagine if they kept the second Chandler. That would be no contest. Opponent keeps the Ponder cards. Gets in for 3. I'm at 4. This will be a complicated game. Here's a Delver that I'm gonna daze, which unfortunately lets Murktide Regent resolve more easily later. I think I'm binning the Ponder. Yeah, let's bin the Ponder here. So funnily enough, I'm actually hoping that we trade dazes here. Don't. Okay. And I draw Lightning Bolt. Oh my god, this game is insane. So Lightning Bolt my opponent's Chandler. Okay, that's not a bad card. That is not a bad magic card. Let's see. But it will give me Delirium if I bin it. I'm actually going to bin it here because I feel like if my opponent draws removal, it's going to be Lightning Bolt, and then, you know, my life total is a little bit more safe. So I guess cast this Ponder? Did I play a land this turn? Yeah, I did play a land. Questing Druid. That's kind of a way to pull away. But will I have the time? I'm not sure I'll have the time. I'll put it into my graveyard, but such a hard decision. And now I have back-to-back Merc. I like the land a lot. Back-to-back Merc is pretty cool. So maybe play like this so I can theoretically upkeep heat away the second Merc in case I don't need it. I'm at 4. How big can my opponent make their Murktide? 1, 2, 3, 4. They can make it a 7/7, and I believe I can make it bigger than that. This is pretty high level stuff. It kind of stabilized to a point where I'm in a decent spot. My opponent is playing around on Holy Heat here, which is unfortunate. Draw the second Merc. I'm actually going to attack here and happily finish off my opponent's Murktide here. So, cast this before damage because of surveilling. Okay, did I mess up here? Was I supposed to fetch first? Yeah, I was supposed to play a land and fetch first. So in a perfect world, I play a land here. I'd make the same attack. And then I fetch before this damage. Yeah, this was just kind of pointless, right? So 6 damage to the Merc, trading off. And then I play my own Merc. And I think what I do here is I hedge for... guess I can't hedge, so I might as well give it a little bit of go here. 3. Can I get it to a 7/7 and still make the next one relevant as well? Let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So first one with 1, 2, 3, 4. Need to be more careful here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and one more. So that's Lightning Bolt here. That's kind of how the cookie crumbles with regards to the fetch. Chain Lightning as well. Okay, so what could I have done? What could I have done this game? I feel like if I'm not eating on that turn, if I'm just building a big Merc, I could play an 8/8 Murktide, stay at 4. Yeah, it's very possible that I'm not supposed to fetch there. Chain Lightning was a bad surprise, that's for sure. So for sideboarding in the mirror, I have a lot of bad cards, like all of these cards. I have 5 blasts that are good. I have a single abrade that I like a decent amount. I can keep 3 dazes and keep everything else. So yeah, that was actually a great game where the life totals ended up mattering a lot. Like the opponent getting to a point where burn spell is lethal. That was a cool one to display. I like this hand. I have turn 1 Delver. And then it's kind of up to my opponent to kill that card. Then I can wasteland and try and get lucky and hopefully. Obviously, this hand is not nowhere near as good as what my opponent just had. Like, that was just very cohesive and old school Delver. But yeah, this is decent. Turn 1 Delver of Secrets. Let's say my opponent goes like, I don't know, fetch land pass. Then all of a sudden I kind of have a problem because then I'm not developing any colored sources. Then my opponent knows I'm weak. So let's see. When you're on the play here, the dream is that the opponent also go creature so that you can kill their creature and keep it up. Also note that the opponent is playing around. The opponent's playing around Wasteland here. Here, opponent sacking the bauble here. What does that tell us? That tells us that they don't expect that Delver to survive, but they would love to have a Daze on top of their deck. Daze is also very annoying here because I would have to play out a bad land to play around Daze. And kind of expose my weakness here. Not sure if I'm willing to do that. Let's see. Opponent draws a card. Okay, there's a volcanic island, so I don't have to think about that. So let's lightning bolt that. And then cast a ponder. To hopefully see some decent cards and flip the Delver next turn. Yeah, that is exactly what happens. So I go like that, like that, like that. Pyroblast on top of my deck. Attack for 1. Not impressive. The opponent will know that there's likely a flip incoming. Pyroblast number 2 is decent protection for, you know, not losing to Murktide, basically. Here's Lightning Bolt on the Delver. And another Delver. Okay. So, could see killing that. The next card down is not flipping my Delver. That's kind of what makes me a little bit, So maybe what I'm supposed to do is go wasteland my opponent's volcanic and my own end step seek the beast. I'll actually try that out, see how that works. I believe I want the card on top of the deck. Let's see. If I get dazed, you know, it's not the best. But funnily enough, I hit a daze myself. That's kind of interesting. The next turn, I can go land from out there, theoretically play the questing druid, play a Delver. Well, I'm gonna daze here for sure. Because that daze is going into the abyss. We trade dazes, all goody. My opponent is stuck on one land here. It makes a lot of sense with how they played this game with the very cautious turn 1 island. I don't think they have a daze. I think this is where I deploy the druid. Because they don't have a red source, so they might have bolts trapped in hand. If I play druid now as kind of an investment while not being under pressure, then I untap into a bunch of spells and grow the druid out of bolt range. Unless my opponent spikes the land, of course. Pretty excited about that daze getting hit off the druid and actually getting mileage. That's not something that happens all that often. Let's go Trop. Questing druid. Pass the turn. Trying to dodge getting bolted, I guess. Worst thing here is my opponent flips with a cantrip. Oh, they already had a cantrip. Okay. So at least the Delver doesn't flip. My opponent needs the land here desperately. And then we're most likely in a new situation where Wasteland kind of keeps punishing them. It's good to get into a spot where Wasteland is a good draw. Then that leaves very few cards that are bad draws. Okay, opponent gets the tap land, gets to clear the worst one out of the remaining cards, and I'm sure they will offer the trade here. Let's see what we can do here to put this game away. I drove the Wasteland like an absolute champ. Wow. So I feel like if I get rid of that card and I cast a Delver, I'm loving life. Should I kill my opponent's Delver Secrets here to get in for more damage? I don't think that makes sense. If it flips, I'll kill it. Get in for 2, pass the turn. Now worth noting is, oh wow, Brainstorm. If I fight over this Brainstorm, I feel like my opponent has a bad card here, or maybe it's a land, and that's why they Brainstorm now. Actually gonna fight here. Counter target spell if it's blue. This is my 3rd Brainstorm I've countered this this video. Okay, so I get dazed here, which is surprising. Now my opponent will flip the Delver. I would be really sad if my Questing Druid died here, but it's super possible, unfortunately. The plan with that card is kind of to get it to a 4/4. Yeah, I could still lose this game despite being ahead. I got to seek the beast into daze and my land drop and get a creature out of it. That's like a 3-for-1. So yeah, very impressive play by the opponent here. I'm sure they're doing their absolute best to hang in there. So flipping with the bolt, killing the druid. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the opponent playing very well. That card is dead. Opponent has 3 cards in hand. They have the biggest creature. Let's see if we can flip the Delver to keep up here. We can't. Land is the draw. So now I have to ask myself, am I taking the damage down to 10 or killing it before damage? And I think the answer to that question is I'm taking the damage. Unfortunately, right. So let's surveil first. I think that's the way to play. Because if we have a lightning bolt on top, we don't pyroblast this card. Bobble on top of the deck. Let's get that out of here. Now I'm pyroblasting my opponent's Delver, even though I don't want to, but I kind of have to deal with the board. Could get hydroblasted here, rather. I don't. Let's see if we can flip this time. Kind of getting into a position where, yeah, I need to do something in the other direction. I draw a Wasteland, which is maybe a good card. Back for 1. So now I have to ask myself, what's in my opponent's hand? Probably Seek the Beast, right? Probably the Druid. Opponent's floating mana. I'll change my phase here. And here comes my opponent's backup, or comeback rather. Yeah, I mean, I'll allow it. Let's see what the opponent hits. Murktide and a land, so that's definitely a duo. Unfortunately, I think I'm losing this game. Let's see. The opponent can probably back-to-back the Murktide pretty easily. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that card is going to be a problem. So the good thing is my opponent isn't incentivized to play around on Holy Heat the first time. So I expect my opponent to make a 7/7 here and not get heated. But my opponent could also maybe think about the fact that I didn't heat the Delver. I Pyroblasted the Delver. So if I had a heat, I would have used that instead. I hope my opponent plays this as if I have Unholy Heat. My opponent does not respect Unholy Heat, which is very, very well played. 1, 2, and then next time plans to play it as a big card. So very, very high level play by the opponent. Love to see that. Do I give myself the chance to spike on Holy Heat? I actually think I do. Try and flip the Delver. It's not exactly going well in that department. So my opponent has a lot of life to play with. Let's say I flip the Delver, my opponent would have been, way lower, then the bounce is more effective, etc., etc. But that's kind of the name of the game, right? Sometimes you high roll a little bit, sometimes you don't. Here's Dragon Rage Chandler, which is not very impressive right now. Play that. And now basically I want to bounce my opponent's Murktide, dig into that heat or another Pyroblast, and go from there. And if it doesn't work, I'm most likely losing the game. So the sense of urgency is very high here. Trying to figure out when I lost this game. It'd be a bit hard to recollect here. I felt very good about, wastelanding my opponent. I didn't really play the game. I guess there's maybe something about the Druid, but I'm not sure. Maybe that my opponent just found the red lane and the chain lightning in the window they needed. Otherwise, we would be on to game 3, and this was decently executed. Unclear. So now I draw my own Merc. Okay, my own Merc is not bad because that's gonna let me shrink the Chandler here. Let's see. So, I guess I want to make the Murktide an 8/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what if I do that? Then I'm leaving creature, land, and artifact, I believe. Let's just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I make an 8/8 here, I'm leaving land, bubble, druid, delver. Yeah. I guess we make an 8/8. The thing is, that card is going to get pyroblasted 9 times out of 10, so I'm not too optimistic here. I think my opponents got me where they want me. Dealing with Merc on the stack here for good measure. So what you could have done here if my opponent was in that market was untap, play Druid, then blast the Murktide to get one more counter on the Druid. If they have other stuff to spend their mana on, obviously. That's not a good play. So now I'm in a position where to lose to any bolt, so my opponent has a lot of time to find that bolt. Pretty cool match. I really like this match. So many small decisions, and at the end of the day, there's a lot of focus on the Pyroblast versus Murktide situation. There's a lot of like bolt your creature, attack my own creature. There's incremental value to Chandler. Yeah, this is well played by the opponent, just putting a lot of creatures into play. The Delver didn't want to flip. That was super unfortunate. So now I actually think I have to like move through combat here. Yeah. Let's see what the opponent has on top. Bobble. Pass. And I think I need Pyroblast on top of my deck. All right, that's going to do it. Good games. That was a sweet match with a ton of small decisions. Opponent played very, very well. They basically showed that, sure, you can start the game on, you know, missing your land drop, getting wasted, and then just make sure that you're alive, claw back into the game, and win in convincing fashion. And whew, yeah, that was a schooling for sure. But that's also going to conclude today's video. I hope you guys had a fun time. I sure did. I really love this high-level stuff. And whether I get to do something awesome and win the game or the opponent does, it's kind of the same to me. We're here to get better and learn, and I think we managed to do that today. I was especially happy with showing the Reanimator matchup and the Delver Mirror with a ton of typical small stuff that can happen. And this time, it didn't really work out for me, but yeah, I'll get them next time. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.